Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Kimberly Bell. I am a psychologist and have been for about 20 years now. I'm in the Shaker Heights, Ohio area, and I figured now's as good a time as any to start doing some videos, primarily child development and family stuff, but because of the stuff that's going on currently, I've had some parents ask for some adult stuff as well, just because of how hard life is right now. So I figured now's as good a time as any to start. I hope they help. Obviously, it's not medical advice. I don't know you. I can't talk to you individually. These are just some ideas, and quite honestly, hopefully, if anything, it will get you thinking about reaching out for help if you are worried about your reactions or your kids' reactions to some of these issues that I'm going to be talking about. We are out there, by the way, the therapists of the world. We are out there. We are taking intakes. We are taking new patients. We may be working with you over FaceTime or Zoom, but we are all still in the fray and doing our jobs. So don't hesitate to call to get information. Here in Shaker Heights, I'm at the Hannah Perkins Center for Child Development. I'm the clinical director here, and all of our staff are up and ready to go to do distance therapy. And we are in a brave new world, and we're going to all just work it out. So what I wanted to talk about today was just the adjustment piece of it. I teach at a couple universities here nearby, and I teach child development, and I was lecturing, and I was taping lectures for an online class, and it occurred to me, how surreal everything feels. And I was doing a lecture on a Piaget concept of assimilation and accommodation, and I don't think it has to get more difficult than that to understand what we're going through right now. In child development, there are two concepts, and the first one is assimilation, which means that you are presented with new information, and you take that new information in, and you work it into what you already know to be true about the world. So if we have something like a pandemic, our first step is to try and figure out, okay, what do I do with this information? What do I do with this new experience? And the first thought is, okay, well, how have I experienced this before, right? All of you are wondering, why are people buying toilet paper? Here's why. Think about the West Coast. They know earthquakes. We know hurricanes. Think about the East Coast. We know tornadoes here in the Midwest, and we know flooding, and we know all of these other things. And we know blizzards, quite frankly, here in the North. We know blizzards. And what happens in blizzards, and what happens in all those natural disasters? We lose electricity, potentially we lose heat, potentially we don't have our water supply, and our plumbing is an issue, right? And so we think, oh my gosh, I have to prepare for this thing that they're telling me is coming, but I don't know how to do that because I've never been through a pandemic before. So I'm going to assimilate it into what I already know to be true, and I'm going to go prepare for a hurricane, or I'm going to go prepare like I would for a blizzard, and I'm going to get a bunch of canned foods because I don't know if I'm going to lose my electricity or I'm going to lose my refrigeration, those sorts of things. That's going to happen in the early days because our brain is meant to be a perceptual machine, right? We don't see with our eyes, we see with our brain. We don't hear with our ears, we hear with our brain. Everything has to be processed. And it is only after we try to do that where we come to the realization that this is something brand new. We do not have a schema for this, right? We do not have an operation in our brain that fully encompasses this. Why are kids more resilient than adults? Because kids confront this every day. Every day they learn numbers, they learn fractions, they learn algebra, and every time there's a little piece of it that they can assimilate into their previous experience, but a lot of it they have to make brand new room for, okay? So they're making room for these things and these brand new things, and how do they do that? They look to the adults, right? So a little child is walking down the street and they've seen birds, and they go, bird, yes, bird, yes, bird, yes. And then they point at an airplane and they go, bird, and you say, no, airplane. And their little brains are all set up to create this new category of a something. Airplanes. And they do their categories. The older we get, the more experience we have, the more places we try to fit this new information. And we get very uncomfortable when we are confronted with something that doesn't fit that information, right? So we have these moments where it feels like your brain locks up, like the gears just kind of grind to a halt. I don't know what to do with this information. We'll have moments of like a loss of reality, That's a defense mechanism. We call that denial. It is healthy as long as it's temporary. And we kind of are like, this can't be real. This can't be real. Now, where it's not healthy is where you get to the point where you say, this can't be real. And if I don't do anything to protect myself, it won't be real. That's dangerous. Don't do that. Let yourself take in the information slowly. It's going to take you time. This is why we watch everything on the news. This is why we have nothing else to talk about right now. Because as we talk about it with each other, as we think through it with each other, we are sharing the distress. And we are slowly finding a way to alter our point of view, our world view. These are the things that happen in my world. And the older we are, the more experience we have, the more rigid we get, and the less we like to accommodate. We prefer to assimilate things into what we know. So you're going to hear people talking about conspiracy theories. You're going to hear people talking about overreaction. All of these are just defenses against accepting that we're dealing with something that is brand new. Why is it so important for adults to manage this? Because the children that are around you are going to look to you as to how to create a new schema for what this is. There are some excellent videos going around. I love the one with the little kid with the finger washing, with the germs, with the pepper. Oh, lovely. If you haven't, look that one up. It's fantastic. There are so many people doing so many great things, but I think one of the things that sometimes is missing, we're very much a doing people, right? We like to be in control of things. We like to do something. And in this case, I think a little bit of understanding needs to happen before we can feel comfortable moving forward, and understanding why we react the way we do, why we think the way we do, why we panic and the way we do, why we are all going to gain weight because we're comforting ourselves with food, things that are familiar, things that change our brain chemistry and ignite pleasure centers in our brain. All of those things are just things that we're doing right now. So be kind to yourself. Give yourself time. Be kind to others. Let's try not to judge other people for the ways that they're trying to assimilate this information into their known worldview. It may frustrate you. We're coming along slowly. We don't have grown-ups. We are the grown-ups. Surprise. We are the grown-ups that are having to figure all of this out. And so we don't have grown-ups to look up to say this is all going to be fine. We've got this. You don't have to worry about this. Little kids will look to you. And if you're wrestling with your own anxiety, get some help, because your anxiety gets shared with the little ones in your world. So all of the other stuff is great. Social distancing, staying connected, all of those things are great. But I think sometimes it also, if we get right down to it and we want to understand why we're reacting the way we are, it really is very simple. That's just the way our brain is built. And in the next few weeks, we will find a new way. We will find a new schema in our brains called pandemic. This is the file folder that these behaviors go into, right? And so we would be more prepared. Shout out to those of you who are old enough to remember what you did after 9/11, right? Those of us that were adults, our brains locked up after that as well. It wasn't as vague an issue as it is now. We had like an enemy and something to do and something to rally behind and a cause. But our lives changed. And now, we go to the airport and we complain about it, but we take off our shoes, right? We take off our shoes, we go through the x-ray machines, we do all those things, and life has assimilated those little pieces into a new worldview when it comes to traveling. We're going to have some assimilation to do. We're going to have some serious accommodation to do, but all of it will take time. So when your kids are asking questions, that's really what they're trying to figure out. How do I fit this into the world that I know now? So I'm going to be posting some videos on it, like little, 10-minute videos or something on different aspects of it, and I hope it's helpful. And if it triggers you, I call your local therapists. I can't fix anything from here, but I can offer you some ideas to start beginning to understand, and some things for you to try, and constant encouragement for you to seek out the help that's available to you right now. We're all out there waiting to hear from you. All right, take care of yourselves, be kind, be patient. I'll be posting another video soon. Thanks, bye.